The death of Queen Victoria's mother. Queen Victoria might have earned the title Grandmother of Europe, but her own mother, Princess Victoria of Saxe-Coburg-Saalfeld, was a formidable figure in her own right. Like her daughter, she wasn't one to shy away from drama. From scandalous affairs to questionable parenting methods, Princess Victoria's life is a captivating tale that's worth exploring. She was born into wealth and influence. Despite eventually becoming the mother of a highly influential British monarch, Princess Victoria wasn't British herself. She hailed from Germany. Born in 1786 to Franz Frederick and Countess Augusta, prominent figures in the Saxe-Coburg and Gotha dynasty, she was destined for greatness from the start. However, the expectations placed upon her may have been too lofty for her own good. At the tender age of 17, Princess Victoria's life took a dramatic turn when her parents arranged her marriage to Charles, Prince of Lehzen. What made this arrangement even more unsettling was a significant age gap between them. Charles was over 2 decades older than Victoria, and to add to the discomfort, his late wife had been Victoria's aunt. Despite the less than ideal circumstances of her marriage, Princess Victoria became a mother at a young age. By the time she was 18, she had already given birth to her first child, Karl, followed by another daughter, Theodora, 3 years later. Despite the challenges that she faced, she navigated the complexities of motherhood with resilience. So how did this influential matriarch meet her eventual fate? On the fateful day of the 15th of March 1861, just 1 day prior to her passing, the Duchess underwent surgery on her arm to address the troubling presence of an ulcer. Unfortunately, complications arose swiftly as a severe infection took hold. As the situation grew dire, Queen Victoria received the distressing news that her mother's condition was rapidly deteriorating, with very little hope for her survival beyond a mere few hours. With urgency weighing heavily upon them, Queen Victoria, along with her husband Prince Albert and their daughter Alice, promptly made the journey from London to Windsor. The Duchess, who resided at Frogmore House near Windsor Castle, awaited their arrival in her time of need. Upon their arrival, the Queen was met with the heartbreaking sight of her mother languishing in a state of semi-consciousness, her breathing laboured and strained. March 16, 1861, 1 day later, dawned with the weight of impending loss. At precisely 9:30 a.m., the Duchess, aged 74, drew her final breath, succumbing to the trials of a lifetime filled with tumult and drama. Despite the trials that they had weathered, the bond between mother and daughter had grown resilient over the years, a testament to their enduring love. In her final moments, Queen Victoria remained steadfast by her mother's side, grasping her hand in a tender display of affection and support. Yet, in a twist befitting of her dramatic legacy, the departed Duchess had one final revelation to impart. In the aftermath of her mother's passing, Queen Victoria was plunged into profound grief. Despite the complexities of their relationship and the challenges that they faced together, overwhelmed by sorrow, she sought solace in the remnants of her mother's life, meticulously sifting through her papers in search of cherished moments. However, what she uncovered only deepened her anguish. Among her mother's writings, Queen Victoria stumbled upon intimate reflections and daily musings. Reading through them, she was overcome with emotion, on the verge of tears. Despite years marked by distance and manipulation, the papers revealed the depth of the Duchess's love for her daughter and her profound gratitude for their reconciliation. In that poignant moment, Queen Victoria recognised the extent of her mother's affection, laying bare the true emotions that had been long veiled by their tumultuous past. With clarity born of grief, she squarely placed blame on Conroy for orchestrating their estrangement, branding his actions as wicked and destructive. In tribute to her mother's memory, Queen Victoria and Prince Albert honoured her legacy by dedicating a window in the Royal Chapel of All Saints, situated within the grounds of Windsor Great Park. This act of commemoration served as a tangible expression of their enduring love and reverence for the Duchess, immortalising her presence within the heart of the royal estate. The death of Queen Victoria's father. Prince Edward, who held the titles of Duke of Kent and Strathearn, was born on the 2nd of November 1767 at Buckingham House. He was the fourth son of King George III and Queen Charlotte, named after his late uncle, Edward, Duke of York. His early education was under the guidance of John Fisher, who later became the Bishop of Salisbury. Displaying a penchant for adventure, Edward embarked on a military career, starting in 1785 as a cadet in the Hanoverian Foot Guards, stationed in Lunenburg. He underwent rigorous military training, earning accolades such as becoming colonel in the British Army and being appointed a Knight of the Garter in 1786. His military service took him to various locations, including Hanover, Geneva, Gibraltar, the West Indies, and Canada, where he rose through the ranks to become a major general, and eventually a field marshal. Despite his military successes, Prince Edward's leadership style was marked by strict discipline, earning him a reputation as a harsh taskmaster, which led to friction with his subordinates. This tension reached its peak in 1802, when he was appointed governor of Gibraltar and tasked with restoring order among the garrison, resulting in mutiny. Though he managed to quell the rebellion, his methods were criticised by his brother, the Duke of York, who accused him of cruelty and oppression. Regarded as the least favourite among George III's sons, Edward endured a lack of paternal attention and faced swift criticism from his father. His correspondence with home was sparse, and he was subjected to surveillance by his valet, Reimers. Despite being allocated a meagre portion of his £6,000 annual allowance for maintenance, Edward struggled financially, resorting to borrowing to maintain the lifestyle expected of a prince. Upon discovering his debts, George III sent him to Geneva in disgrace, but failed to provide him with sufficient allowance, leading to further accumulation of debt. In a desperate bid for familial contact, Edward fled from his mentor in 1790 and returned to England, incurring his father's wrath. George III granted him only a brief audience before exiling him to Gibraltar. Edward was not permitted to return home until he suffered a fall from his horse in October 1798. Despite being bestowed the titles of Duke of Kent and Strathearn in 1799 and Parliament granting him an annual income of £12,000, financial woes plagued Edward throughout his life. The birth of Princess Victoria, the future Queen, a year later, was met with public approval. The Duke took pride in her, and he and the Duchess proudly presented the baby on numerous occasions. Edward hailed from a family known for its longevity, with his father George, despite grappling with significant mental health challenges, reaching the age of 81. Yet, despite the familial resilience, Edward's own fate proved tragically short-lived. In 1820, less than a year after the birth of his daughter Victoria, Edward's health took a sudden and severe downturn. In January of that year, Edward contracted pneumonia. Initially, there may have been little cause for alarm, given his relatively young age of 52 and his history of robust health. However, the illness progressed rapidly, catching everyone by surprise. And on the 23rd of January, Edward succumbed to the illness far sooner than anticipated, sending shockwaves through those who knew him. He died at Woolbrook Cottage in Sidmouth. His passing, merely 6 days before his father, King George III, marked the end of his earthly journey. His burial took place on the 12th of February at St George's Chapel, within the confines of Windsor Castle. The enormity of his coffin, measuring almost 7.5 feet in length and 3 feet wide, symbolised the stature of a man who played significant roles in both military endeavours and familial ties. Tragically, Edward's demise preceded that of not only his father, but also his 3 elder brothers. However, fate bestowed upon him a unique legacy, for his daughter Victoria, born less than a year before his death, would ultimately ascend to the throne of England. When King William IV passed away in 1837, lacking any surviving legitimate heirs among Edward's elder brothers, Victoria assumed the mantle of power, commencing a reign that would endure until the dawn of the 20th century. Following Edward's demise, his wife found herself burdened with his outstanding debts. With limited options available, she reluctantly parted with their household at Castle Hill Lodge, selling it to Edward's former aide, thus relinquishing yet another tangible reminder of their shared past. Meanwhile, the trajectory of the royal family took an unexpected turn upon the passing of King George III, with Edward's brother William ascending to the throne as William IV. However, destiny had more surprises in store, as the new monarch remained childless. In 1837, nearly 2 decades after Edward's passing, his long-awaited prophecy came to fruition. His daughter, Victoria, ascended to the throne as queen. Victoria wasted no time in attending to her father's lingering debts upon assuming the throne. Despite the necessity of repaying these debts gradually from her own income, she diligently worked to reduce them to nothing. Remarkably, Victoria harboured no resentment towards the memory of her father, despite their limited time together. Her diary entries reveal a poignant sentimentality towards him. In her private journals, Victoria expressed admiration for her father, despite the challenges that he had presented to her mother, and upon learning about him from a member of Parliament, she penned, "From all what I heard, he was the best of all." While the portrayal may be somewhat idealised, Victoria's reverence for her father remains evident, allowing her to cherish his memory with fondness and respect.